Hey, Guoba here. It's 3 times Planar Ornament set, which, as we know, is 3 times the Despair. In this video, I'll be going through the sets one by one and explaining their benefits and best uses, and finish off with a summary on the best Planar sets to farm. This will hopefully help you in the long run, but also for this big farming event and any future ones. So like and sub if this helped, comment below if you got any banger pieces from this event, and let's begin. World 3 is our space sailing station and fleet of the Aegis world. Spacing Station is pretty simple, but still used by units that love attack percent and saturate on damage percent. This can be Shui Yi, for example, or Doctor Ratio. Outside of these two, it's still a pretty nice universal DPS set that can complement both crit DPS and dot DPS. Unfortunately, it is outperformed by crit planar sets on most units and Glamoth on dot units. Fleet of the Aegis is good for tankiness for your supports, and it gives a nice team-wide buff that, of course, stacks. The attack percent buff is only better over Keel's crit damage though when considering dot teams, and if you are matching the element with your DPS and support, then Penacony will just be better. My verdict on World 3 is it's still okay, and old pieces or first time rewards are still usable, but I wouldn't really farm for it anymore. World 4 gives us the Talia, Kingdom of Banditry and Sprightly Vonwacq sets. Talia is the go-to for break DPS such as Luca, Break Su Shang, Shui Yi. It can also be used on break scaling supports, but other sets are just better on them. Talia also requires you to hit 145 speed for its maximum benefits, which isn't that easy to get, but then again a common break support is Ruan Mei, who buffs speed, so it's not too bad anymore. As for Vonwacq, it's not used that much. The 5% energy was useful for some rotations on supports, but that is now overshadowed by the Penacony set. The advance forward is very cool, but mostly used for zero cycle shenanigans. Outside of that, it can be used to jumpstart your damage or sustain, for example on Silverwolf for her debuffs, or Fire MC for their taunt. So World 4 has 2 niche sets. I wouldn't farm this world and instead would opt to synthesize Vonwacq energy ropes you might need, whilst hopefully getting some okay supportive orbs. Talia is nice for break DPS but not mandatory, and Shui Yi, for example, can use Space Sailing Station just as well. Now, I don't know if World 5 even deserves any discussion. It hosts the Celestial Differentiator and Pan-Cosmic Commercial Enterprise sets. Celestial Differentiator is used by no one. The only time it could be used in the future is if we get a unit that has a loophole that can abuse its passive. Pan-Cosmic is also not used at all due to the effect resistance nerfs in 1.1, as we now never require enough hit rate that makes a set better than a Glamoth or Space Sailing Station. 2 users though are Welt and Black Swan, but both of them can use the other sets just fine to avoid farming this world. Silverwolf builds a ton of effect hit rate too, but she would prefer going for supportive utility or a 5% energy planar set, so I would not farm this world. World 6 has Belobog of the Architects and Inert Salsotto or Inert Salsa. Belobog is the general best in slot for every shielder as of 2.1, and that will include Aventurine, but only if you want pure shielding power. A Broken Keel or Penacony set would provide actual damage buffs for your team. The effect hit rate condition can be reached by Fire MC building for Taunt, Jeopard E1 building for Freeze, and March 7th building for her Ultimate's Freeze. Aventurine, however, doesn't need any effect hit rate, and we know he could be a cheeky sub-DPS gamer. I'll have an in-depth guide on him on his banner release. As for Inert Salsotto, it's best in slot for nearly every follow-up unit and nearly every ultimate heavy unit. This is for example Jing Yuan, Clara, Topaz, Argenti. Even ones that have better options like Acheron and Doctor Ratio can still use this as an amazing fallback. The crit rate is cool to have, the condition isn't hard to achieve, and most other DPS outside of these also have some sort of damage on their ultimate either way. So World 6 is a great universal world to farm if you want to kit out both shielders and a wide variety of DPS. If you don't use shielders, well, Belobog can also be used as a cope defensive planar set for supports if you end up farming too much and getting unlucky. But let's hope you mostly get Inert Salsotto. Now World 7 is peak. We have the Rutilant Arena and Broken Keel planar sets. Rutilant Arena is just amazing, being great for any skill spam or basic spam DPS, aka any DPS that isn't mostly ultimate based or follow-up based. That's for Inert Salsotto. Its best users are units like Jing Liu, Imbibitor Lune, Qingcui. Since it still gives the same crit rate as Inert, and since Inert users still make use of their skills, Rutilant is a viable replacement if you prefer farming this world. The only caveat is that you have to reach 70% crit rate, but this is getting easier to achieve though for long-time players, since we have our crit rate buffs from Fu Xuan, Sparkle's Lycone, and some DPS's E1s. If Rutilant wasn't enough, Broken Keel is in this world too. This set is just the general best in slot for supports. The only times it won't be is if you need the 5% energy from another set, if you're matching elements with a DPS, or if you're running with DPS. Since those are pretty conditional, farming Broken Keel will set you up for a nice time in most teams. I would say though that getting 30% F-res with all the other stats supports need may be annoying though, and the 30% F-res is not stopping debuffs anytime soon. Also, the crit damage buff can stack just like Fleet's attack percent can. World 7 is my go-to farming for my account, and sets you up for most supports and most DPS. World 8 is another banger though, hosting the Firmament Frontline Glamoth and Penacony Land of the Dream sets. Glamoth is best in slot for every .DPS excluding Black Swan due to Pan-Cosmic, but this world is a much better farm anyways. Glamoth is also nice and universal, boosting any DPS regardless of crit or dot, and basic or skill or ult spamming. The damage percent will buff you no matter what. Nonetheless, this set isn't beating your Inert or Rutilant out of extremes like 160 speed, and even then getting to that speed is ridiculous on non-dot units. Speed buffs may help you get there, but you'd have to glue that support to said DPS. At 135 speed it's still decent though if you don't want to bother with the specific DPS sets in Worlds 6 and 7. Do note that if you run a fast Sparkle or Bronya with your base speed DPS, then Glamoth is completely useless. The Penacony set is in most cases the best damage buff you can give to your team if your support matches your DPS's element. For supports that are always glued to a certain DPS, that can be nice, say a Ruame with your Jingliu, but it also does mean in the future if you ever want to swap off to a brand new shiny DPS, you'll be losing the damage percent value. The 5% energy can be useful just like with Vonwacq, and it comes with the bonus of a damage buff instead of the advance. World 8 is a great farm for .DPS lovers or even people that just want some universal DPS sets. I don't generally like Glamoth on my account though. It is like World 7 though, where it kits you out with a nice DPS set and a nice supportive set, giving you very efficient drops. Finally, we have our latest world, World 9. We have the Sigonia the Unclaimed Desolation, and Izumo Gensei and Takuma Divine Realm Planar Ornaments, the longest names so far. I have a recent video out on these sets. Izumo is quite niche, but strong in its niche, and so is Sigonia. Izumo is niche to dual path setups, mostly dual DPS, such as Double Hunt with Topaz Ratio, Double Erudition with Himiko Hata, and Double Nihility with Acheron or Welt with debuffers. The Sigonia set is niche to Pure Fiction and is pretty weak outside of it. At max power it gives some massive crit buffs and may help you when Pure Fiction gets harder, but right now I'd prefer farming a different world that lets your DPS shine in multiple types of content. World 9 is not a world I'd farm right now, but if you struggle with Pure Fiction and also want to farm for some Izumo gamers, then go for it. Now that was the rundown one by one, but for this summary I actually listed every unit in a spreadsheet and gave my picks of their top 3 planar sets, tallied them up, and counted more if it was their best in slot. The picks used calculations from myself, from Theorycrafter friends, and generalizations like most supports using Keel Penacony Fleet. The sheet gives us the order of World 7, then 8, then 6, then 9, then 3, then 4, and finally 5. Though the data doesn't mean everything, and this may just help if you just don't know what to farm. For example, 8 is carried by Penacony being universal for every support if they are paired with a matching DPS, as well as Glamoth being a universal piece for most DPS after their best in slots. Another example is World 9 is amazing if you fulfill the conditions, and every Pure Fiction DPS can abuse it, but outside of that, it's a pretty dead world to farm. Anyways, I hope this guide helped you out, and if it did, share with others and consider liking and subscribing, it would help me out a bunch. Thanks to my amazing YouTube members, thanks for watching, and have a Guoba day.